Hello there, this is Daniel and welcome back to another SAT reading test video where I'll be going over and explaining the answers on SAT reading tests so that way you can better study for your own. Today, I'll be going over the next 5 questions, questions 17 through 21. Without further ado, let's begin. Question 17. Which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? So, as I'm sure you can see, for this question, we'll have to go back up to the previous question, question 16, and find what our answer was there. If you remember our last video, the answer we chose was incorrect because, after all, the assumption by gift givers was that the more expensive, the larger, the more fancier gift, the more the other person would like it, which was in fact an incorrect assumption. So now we have to go back and find the best evidence for these questions. So let's go to the first choice, A, lines 53 to 55. So we go back here, we can see lines 53 to 55. Perhaps gift givers believe that bigger, i.e. more expensive gifts convey stronger signals of thoughtfulness and consideration. While this does in fact represent how gift givers think givers might want better gifts, it doesn't tell us anything about why the assumption between gift givers and gift recipients is incorrect, and doesn't tell us anything about how this assumption is wrong. So answer A is incorrect, is out of the question. Let's look at the next one, B, lines 55 to 60. So go back and start at line 55. According to Cameraire, 1988, and others, gift-giving represents a symbolic ritual whereby gift givers attempt to signal their positive attitudes toward the intended recipient and their willingness to invest resources in a further relationship. Again, this has nothing to do with the question. It gives us no evidence whatsoever as to why or explains the answer to the previous question, which was that the assumption that people who receive gifts want bigger ones was incorrect. It only tells us that it's a symbolic ritual, which has nothing to do with the ritual being incorrect. So B is out of the question. Now let's go to the next one, line 63 to 65. So go back up from here. As for gift recipients, they may not construe smaller and larger gifts as representing smaller and larger signals of thoughtfulness and consideration. This answer choice is probably the best one. As you can see, it says gift recipients, or the people who receive gifts, do not construe, or basically do not think smaller and larger gifts as representing smaller and larger signals of thoughtfulness. Or in other words, they see no difference between a smaller and larger gift. This gives us plenty of evidence as to why the notion that people who receive gifts like bigger gifts, thus giving us a very good choice. But just in case, we should choose D. After all, we're supposed to choose the best answer choice, not just the correct one. 75 to 78. In theoretical terms, people fail to utilize information about their own preferences and experiences in order to produce more efficient outcomes in their exchange relations. Again, these lines have nothing to do with anything the question was asking previously and provides no evidence whatsoever. So, for question 17, D is our best answer. I'm sorry, C is the best answer. Remember, when doing the SAT test, or any test really, an important thing is that you don't mess up which answers you've chosen. I myself have done that mistake plenty of times when I was in elementary school, and it has cost me quite a lot of points. If you have this habit, make sure you fix it very quickly. So, let's go on to the next questions. Question 18. As used in line 54, convey most nearly means transport, counteract, exchange, or communicate. So let's go back to line 54 and see how convey is used in that sentence. So line 54, let me see convey. Perhaps givers believe that bigger gifts convey stronger signals of thoughtfulness and consideration. So here's our word right here, convey. And we can see that and the way the word is used, perhaps givers believe There we go. Perhaps givers believe that bigger or more expensive gifts convey stronger signals of thoughtfulness and consideration. You can see here that the word convey is used in a way to kind of link bigger gifts with stronger signals of thoughtfulness and consideration. And they're trying to say that givers think that a bigger gift emphasizes or illustrates their strong feelings of thoughtfulness. So if we go back down to question 18, we can see that the best choice would be communicate, as convey is not being used as the word transport, as they're not transporting or moving anything, nor are they trying to counteract or neutralize something. They're definitely not trying to nullify their feelings. Exchange is better than those two answers, but it's nowhere near correct, as while they are giving something, they aren't receiving anything in return. Communicate, on the other hand, makes perfect sense even using a scenario, as they're trying to convey or show their stronger feelings with a bigger gift, or in other words, communicate their feelings by giving gifts instead. One good way for questions that are asking you what a word is being used in the line is to plug each of those words in and replace the previous word. While this does not work for every single question, as there are always certain cases, I would say about 90% of the time, this is an extremely reliable indicator. Even when it doesn't make complete sense in a sentence, as long as the meaning is mostly right, they can trust that that answer is probably the right one. So if we go back, perhaps givers believe that bigger gifts transport stronger signals of thoughtfulness consideration. As you can see, putting transport inside doesn't really make any sense whatsoever, and definitely gives off a different feeling than convey. The next answer choice would have been, what was it? Counteract. So we put counteract in there. Perhaps givers believe that bigger gifts counteract stronger signals of thoughtfulness and consideration. Putting counteract there makes it sound like they're trying to not show stronger signals of thoughtfulness and consideration by giving a bigger gift, which is completely backwards. And the other one, exchange. Perhaps givers believe that bigger gifts exchange stronger signals of thoughtfulness and consideration. Using the word exchange makes it feel like you're exchanging a gift in exchange for the other person showing thoughtfulness, when in fact the gift is supposed to come with the signals of thoughtfulness and consideration. So as we can clearly see, the question for 18 is in fact D, communicate. And then we have to get rid of the previous markings. There we go. Would be communicate, along with C from above. So let's look at question 19. The author refers to work by Kammerer and others in line 56 in order to offer an explanation, introduce an argument, question a motive, or support a conclusion. So before we do anything, let's go back up to line 56. According to Kammerer and others, gift-giving represents a symbolic ritual whereby gift-givers attempt to signal their positive attitudes toward the intended recipient and their willingness to invest resources in a future relationship. In this sense, gift-givers may be motivated to spend more money on a gift in order to send a stronger signal to their intended recipient. So, what the author wrote here is basically there's a study that proves, that kind of gives evidence to, maybe not prove, that gift givers try to signal a better attitude by buying a bigger gift. And after we've read it before, we can see that the main theme, like the main idea of this passage is saying how gift givers kind of are unable to use their own experience as receiving gifts in order to kind of put themselves in the other person's shoes and ask themselves what they might like, instead just buying a really big gift that the other person may never use. And basically, the passage is saying that you don't have to buy a big gift in order to show that you really, really appreciate the other person. So if we go back, we can see that out of these answer choices, A would be the best one. offer an explanation, as during the previous lines and paragraphs before this, the author is basically telling the reader that although many people, especially those that buy gifts, spend lots of money on them, most people who receive the gifts don't really care for it and usually end up just gathering dust in a garage. This study by Kammerer and others is added in order to offer an explanation as to why people do this. It's a symbolic ritual. People want to communicate their positive attitudes toward one another by bringing bigger gifts, because to them it makes perfect sense. Would you rather have a toy truck that costs some guy like $5, or would you want like a Lamborghini that costs over like probably $500,000? They kind of link price with the positive attitude associated with the gift. In reality, most people actually don't think that way and appreciate any gift regardless of cost, which is what the author is trying to say. So it's not trying to introduce an argument. It's not countering the author's point in any way, merely simply shoring up the reader's background information. It's not questioning a motive. It's not saying, why do people do this? It's saying, this is why. Nor is it to support his conclusion, as it's anything. It doesn't support his conclusion, because the conclusion, after all, is you don't have to buy a big gift. No matter how expensive the gift, it doesn't offer more positive attitude. It doesn't help, because it doesn't help his point, as the study is simply saying that this is why people buy bigger gifts. So for question 19, our best answer choice would be for question 19, our best answer choice would be A, to offer an explanation. So let me just circle that. I can never get this thing to work. I'm just not going to bother. Would be A. So, actually, I have an idea. I'm just going to write the answers on the left here. 17, remember, was C. 18, D. 19, it was A. 20 and 21. All right, so let's move on to questions 20 and 21. Question 20. The graph following the passage offers evidence that gift givers base their predictions on how much a gift would be appreciated on the appreciation level of gift recipients, the monetary value, their own desires, or their relationship. So obviously, just by looking at the question, we can already infer that the correct answer probably has something to do with how expensive a gift is, as after all, we've said many times throughout both explaining the questions and the passage that the main idea of the passage is that while people who buy gifts think that the more expensive a gift, the more appreciated it will be, is in fact not based on reliable evidence at all. So you can already think B is probably the best answer already. However, it's always a good idea to check your answers. So we go back and look at the graph. Givers perceived and recipients' actual gift appreciations. Just by looking at the graph, we can see the graph is a bar graph, and we can see two different areas, the giver and the recipient. The giver perceived appreciation level. We can see here that the giver believes a less expensive gift is worth this much, would be appreciated about this much, while a more expensive gift would be, as you can see, a lot more appreciated. The actual recipient's actual gift appreciations, however, we can see are much more even, with a less expensive gift actually being a bit more appreciated than a more expensive one. Right here, you can see that already that one of the main ways of measuring this is by value of the gift. And it also helps the author introduce their points and kind of confirm it. As you can see, givers mistakenly believe a more expensive gift gives them more appreciation, when really it's actually not all true, and it's a little bit of the opposite. So we go back down to question 20. We can see that the correct answer would in fact be B, the monetary value of the gift, as the graph offers evidence that gift givers, not gift recipients, base their predictions on how much a gift will be appreciated based on the value of the gift. So, the answer to question 20 is in fact B, monetary value of the gift. Let's go to question 21. The authors would likely attribute the differences in gift giver and recipient mean appreciation as represented in the graph to an inability to shift perspective, an increasingly materialistic culture, a growing opposition to gift giving, or misunderstanding of intentions. Well, let's go back to the passage. And if we look at the last few lines, in practical terms, people will spend hundreds of dollars each year on gifts, but somehow never learn to calibrate their gift expenditures according to personal insight. And if we go a bit further up, we can see, in theoretical terms, people fail to utilize information about their own preferences and experiences in order to produce more efficient outcomes in their exchange relations. An author's main idea or conclusion is almost always going to be in the last few paragraphs, as the conclusion is supposed to be the end result, the kind of wrapping up of everything they've built up to. And basically, in this case, the conclusion is the explanation and what the author thinks, why the difference between the gift giver and giver's appreciation of gifts based on value is so different. It's an inability to shift perspective from a gift giver to a gift recipient. And as after all, they've received gifts before, but they don't know how to transform their own gift receiving kind of appreciation values while giving gifts. Because them themselves don't really feel like when they receive gifts, they appreciate less expensive gifts and more expensive gifts the same. But when they go buy gifts, they for some reason think that more expensive gifts is in fact actually better. This shows an ability to shift perspective from buying gifts to receiving gifts and back too. It wouldn't be B, an increasing materialistic culture, as it doesn't say anything about a culture that is more and more dedicated to increasing of money or hoarding items. Nor is it an opposition to gift giving, as if you remember in the beginning paragraph, it says that people are spending more money than ever, which certainly does not represent an opposition. Nor is it a misunderstanding of intentions, as the author says it's not the other side's intention they misunderstand, but rather they simply cannot look back at their own experiences. So the correct answer here is A. Thank you guys for watching, and if you have any questions about how I've done this or any question with the questions, you can go ahead and put in the post in the comments below. Or if you have any ideas on how I can improve my videos or any other thing you really wish to comment, please go ahead and comment below. I appreciate it a lot. And as always, if you really like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and so that way I can keep putting out more of these. Thank you, and see you guys next time on my channel.